It would have helped. It wouldn't have been the solution, because if you remember, up until today, most of the rains that have fallen in that area have been, especially the heaviest rains, have all been below where the diversion structure is located. So it would have taken a little water off the edge, but not enough to make much of a difference for the middle and lower reaches of the Comite River, and certainly no impact whatsoever for the Amite. So the diversion canal, yep, we need it. It's got to be finished, and thank you, Congressman Graves, for getting on that horse. But that's not the panacea. It's not the solution. And for most of the flooding in EBR and Ascension Parish, that diversion structure, in my opinion, would not have had much of a big impact in terms of reducing the flooding. All right, False River, for you folks over there in Point Capee Parish, it is still rising, even with all the gates open, and it is still on a fairly steady rise. I wouldn't be surprised if we see False River go up a couple more tenths between now and tomorrow, as more of that runoff that's around you starts to dump into the lake there. So for you folks on False River, probably still got a bit of a rise. I just don't think you're going to be able to open the waterway for boats for the weekend. I just don't see them being able to drain off that fast, although part of that will depend on how much rain you get tonight and how much is going to flow in. Natalbany, you're in pretty good shape there, although you can see you're almost at crest right now. That 10.0 is probably a shade low, but not enough to worry about any kind of flooding. All right, getting over to the Amite here, and we're going to run through these fairly steadily. Denham Springs at 28.2. The rise has slowed a bit, and I actually thought it would be rising faster this evening than it has. The forecast right now says it crests at 29 tomorrow, and I just think we're going to be probably there before tomorrow afternoon into the evening. And I think we may see it get above, a bit above 29 feet, but not enough to be a big issue. So there's some good news. That's going to depend partly on how much rain we get tonight, but I think that most of the rains that are going to, the significant rains are going to fall in the upper portion of the basin are going to be winding down through the overnight hours and into the day tomorrow. And by the way, for those of you that would like to track Magnolia, Darlington, and farther up, none of those sites are going to go into flood the way it looks to me right now. So yeah, you're still going to have some issues up there, especially places like Sandy Creek and all the areas where you get that backwater issue off of the Amite River. But at least the stages above Denham Springs will all stay below flood levels there. Bayou Manchac is already at its forecasted crest, and it's been slowly rising through the evening. So I think this 10.5 is on the low side. I would say look for 11 feet at Bayou Manchac the way it is moving. Port Vincent, you know what? I'm okay with 8.5. I think that might be a pretty good number there. It's at 7.8 right now. So we're already, even though we're not going to have some big flood problems on properties, we're already at a level where getting in and out of some of those one-way roads to the camps and to even a couple of places, some of the neighborhoods in there, clusters of homes, now that gets to be a problem when that number gets that high. So some of you are going to have access issues even if you're not dealing with water in your property or in your homes. French Settlement, 5.5. Yep. That's pretty substantial for you guys. I mean, I know you've dealt with that before, but that's a pretty large number there. You're already above 5 feet there. And Maurepas, and in fact, with both of these sites, you're getting the double whammy here. You've got the rains that have to come downriver. You're getting the rains, triple whammy actually. The rains that have fallen right in your neighborhood, the water that's going to be coming downriver, and the east and the southeast winds that just aren't going to let up anytime soon. And that's going to keep Maurepas up. And as long as Maurepas is up, the lower reaches of all the rivers are going to be slow to drain. So keep that in mind. I'm guessing, this is my guess, because the Weather Service forecast for Maurepas is actually lower than that. I'm even thinking French Settlement gets above 5.5. I'm going to go around 6 feet at Maurepas based upon the combination of downhill water and the winds that are going to keep things from draining as nicely as we would like to see. All right, getting over on the tickfall. Now, all of the upper and middle portion of the tickfall, all of these sites I think have been under forecasted, but it doesn't really matter in a big way because I don't think Liverpool, Montpelier, or even Holden is going to reach flood stage. So while the actual forecast may be a tad low, I'm not worried. In fact, you can see, and I meant to mention this, you'll notice that the forecast, the stages at all three of those sites are already higher than the forecast. Now keep in mind, the last forecast we got from the National Weather Service for most of these locations was during the early afternoon. And at that time, they were talking about rain totals on the order of 1 inch to 1.5 inches for the next 2 days. Well, most of the area got that 1 inch to 1.5 inches or more just this afternoon after the forecast came out. And that's why I was hoping that we would get updated forecasts, particularly for the AMET. But so far we haven't gotten that. Hopefully I'll have it for you by 10, but the timing of when the RFC, the River Forecast Center, puts out their updates is been kind of changing and flexible and sometimes not exactly what I would consider to be reliable. So we're having some issues there about getting updated forecasts on the rivers. Now, for Killian, though, this is a mess. Yeah, I've got you, again, this is my forecast. I'm not guaranteeing it's anywhere near close. It's just a gut feeling, shooting from the hip here, and I think you're going to go at least to 6 feet at Killian. And, of course, you know, for those of you that live down there, you know what that is a problem for you in your own backyard, in your neighborhood. And then we get over to the Tangi, and quickly there, you see, again, Osaka and Kentwood already really at their estimated, their predicted flood stages. They could go up 1/10, a couple of tenths maybe, but still well below flood stage, no problem there. And Robert, right now, basically at the forecasted crest. And with the rains we've had today, I think Robert's certainly going to get above this 14.2. It's at 14.1 now. Maybe it gets to 15, but I think that the bottom line is even that's not going to be a big deal. So what we're hoping for within the next hour here is that the National Weather Service, the River Forecast Center, will send us some updated forecasts for especially the Amite River, hopefully maybe the Comite River, and at least a better sense of what's coming downstream, down the tickfall for you folks at Killian. So check with me at 10 and we'll take a look at those numbers one more time. My problem is I can't promise you that the RFC is going to get us any new numbers between now and 10 o'clock. But you might just check in, and if we do have new numbers, I'll tell you right at the top of the show, and we'll go from there. In fact, what we're going to do at the 10 o'clock show is we're going to run through these river stages in the early blocks before main weather. So you'll know early on whether the RFC, the River Forecast Center, has provided us with some updated forecasts. All right, finally, we've got some sunshine in the picture. It's still a ways away. Friday, most of the rain, I think most of you are going to get wet, but most of the rain will be in the morning into the midday, ending during the afternoon, and then we get that dry out for the weekend with a return of sunshine too, which will at least be helpful for the mindset even and while we go through the cleanup and wait for the waters to slowly subside. And we'll keep things on the dry side as we head into the early part of next week as well. So we'll have a few days there where I think we'll be essentially completely dry. And even Wednesday and Thursday, I've only got a few passing showers in the picture there. So we're going to get a nice little run of drier weather that ought to let those rivers drop off. All right, I'm going to take a quick look at some questions if there are any here. I appreciate everybody with the shout out and the hello. Just scrolling through what I've got here. Justin asking about Livingston Parish under a flash flood watch. Yep, until lunchtime tomorrow. Flash flood warning. The western portions of the parish probably for another little while here. But I think for most of us, the vast majority of us, if you're not flooded now, you're probably going to be okay. The only place that I'm worried about are those folks that live right up or that are directly affected by the rivers, as I think they're still going to come up a little higher than the forecasts are calling for. So hopefully that helps some of you out there. Are we going to have more storms in the middle of the night? Oh, good question there from Carol. I think we're going to get more rain in the middle of the night. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a rumble or two of thunder, but big monster storms, I'm not seeing that, if that's your question, Carol. But yeah, let's not assume that we're done with the rain overnight tonight by any stretch. I do think we'll have some passing showers and, yeah, could get a rumble of thunder, especially for folks south of Baton Rouge, especially for areas down St. James, Assumption, maybe Lower Ascension, but Lafourche and Terrebonne. You probably got not a rough night ahead, but a night where you're going to have passing storms occasionally. Yeah, everybody's saying no more rain, please. Believe me, I'd like to go with a couple of weeks of no more rain right now. And again, I'm willing and honestly going to tell you that the forecast this week has been a mess. And I have missed, I won't speak on any of the other folks, I have missed on a number of points during the last 4 days here. And I would dare say, though, that you probably, no matter where your source of information was, the problems were the same. We're all looking at the same material, we're all looking at the same models, and we've just had poor guidance from our computer models. Okay, what about the low in the Gulf that the NHC is watching? Is that going west? All right. Yeah, I didn't even talk about that at 6 o'clock into 7 because I was, frankly, we don't need to be talking about that right now. There is a low out in the Atlantic that probably becomes Anna in the next couple of days, so that'll be the 7th year in a row where the first named storm showed up before June 1. There is something down in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, but I'm not going to worry about that now. Let's see what it looks like tomorrow. I'm more worried about the rain over the next 12 to 18 hours than I am maybe cluster of clouds down in the Gulf. But if you're watching that, yeah, you got it right. It's something to check on. All right, one more pass by on some other questions here. Look, I know a lot of you want to know about your particular river, your particular bayou. I just don't have time to hit all of those, and so I apologize at first for the fact that I just can't cover them all. But I will say this, for you folks in EBR and Ascension Parish, where you live near some of these bayous, those are going to be a long time going down in many cases because they drain into either the Amite directly or into Bayou Manchac. And both of those are high. As long as they're high, they're literally liquid dams. And so in EBR Parish, Wards Creek, Bayou Fountain, Dawson Creek even, they're going to be slow to drain because there's no place for that water to go because it's going out into Bayou Manchac, and as long as Bayou Manchac is high, that's going to be a problem. In fact, Bayou Manchac has actually been sort of backing up a bit because the water is so high on the Amite River. So if you've got high water in your neighborhood and it's related to a local bayou, a local channel, a local canal, chances are it's going to be a little while before that water starts to go down. Point Capee, I covered False River there. Yeah, you still got more rain to come, but I think, again, for most of us, the active weather has just about come to an end. All right, let's see. A question about the changing direction of the rain, and I just don't have time to do that because I've got to get ready for a 9 o'clock hit on TV here. I've talked about Molly, all the creeks rising. I think hopefully we've covered that. Let's see. All right. A a lot of questions and comments that I just can't get to in terms of particular specific creeks and bayous. Look, I've got to get ready for a 9 o'clock hit on Channel 9. Just a 1-minute update for those folks that haven't followed me like you have on Facebook. So I'm going to cut it off right here. Again, check in with us at 10 o'clock on WAFB News. Hopefully we'll have some updated river stages for you. If not, at least we'll take another look at the rainfall, not only over the next few hours, but the expected pattern that'll take us into Friday. Stay safe, folks. Don't go out on the roads tonight if you can help it.